I love horror movies, good ones anyway. A lot of what passes for horror these days is just cheap jump scares with a threadbare plot. Nothing sticks with you after you finish watching the film. These movies have been described by some in the industry as boom, Jack in the Box movies. As one critic put it, quiet, 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 bang! No thanks. Here are 3 examples of J horror that stand out to me as the best. Each one is very different from the others in style and tone. Please enjoy my choices for the top 3 horror films in Japan. And please leave a comment if you have any other films you think are better than the ones I'm naming. Number 3, Dark Water. Dark Water is the story of Yoshimi Matsubara, a woman in the middle of a divorce. She moves into a rundown apartment building with her very young daughter. After enrolling the daughter in a nearby preschool, Yoshimi gets a job as a proofreader at a small publishing company. She's trying to rebuild her life. Things begin to go wrong, starting with a leak in her ceiling that keeps getting worse. As events unfold, Yoshimi faces a choice. How far would she go to keep her daughter safe? Dark Water, the full title being From the Depths of Dark Water, or Honogurai Mizu no Soko Kara, as translated from Japanese, is a J-horror movie released in 2002. The title comes from a collection of short stories written by Koji Suzuki, who also wrote the novels and short stories The Ring series is based on. Dark Water was directed by Hideo Nakata, who helmed several entries in the Ring franchise, making this another collaboration between author and director. Koji Suzuki published his first novel, Paradise, in 1990. Most famous for his Ring series, starting in 1991, Suzuki is well known in horror, thriller, fantasy, and science fiction circles. From his anthology, the film Dark Water was adapted from the short story Floating Water, Fuyu Surumizu. It tells the tale of a young woman going through a messy divorce who moves into a decrepit apartment building with her daughter. The woman begins investigating a disappearance that took place. Hideo Nakata is best known for 1998's Ring. He also directed a sequel, Ring 2, not based on the sequel to the original novel, and also the American sequel, The Ring 2, which also had a story independent from the novel series. Dark Water touches on some themes similar to those in his Ring outings. Yoshimi and her daughter, Ikuko, get settled into their new apartment and new lives. It is a big change, but they try to make the most of things. A stain on the ceiling raises concerns, and it spreads. The building superintendent offers no help. A red bag, the bag of a child, keeps appearing no matter how many times Yoshimi gets rid of it. Yoshimi has flashbacks to when she was a child. She was abandoned by her parents and often left alone, waiting for them. This is very troubling for Yoshimi, as the realities of being a single working mother mean she is often late to pick Ikuko up from preschool. This could be grounds for her husband to seek custody. Yoshimi also gets glimpses of a little girl with long hair, a yellow raincoat, and the same red bag she keeps finding. This girl, Mitsuko Kawai, went missing a year ago and lived in the apartment above Yoshimi and Ikuko. As Yoshimi learns more about the missing girl, signs start pointing to the water tank on the roof. A little girl, often left alone to her own devices, in a building with very little in the way of safety features. What does Yoshimi find after racing to the roof? In the meantime, something is threatening Ikuko. As Yoshimi seemingly rescues Ikuko and tries to get them both safely away from the building, she learns the shocking truth. The ghost of Mitsuko has tricked her. Now knowing that Mitsuko will not stop until she has replaced Ikuko as Yoshimi's daughter, Yoshimi makes the ultimate sacrifice and chooses to stay and be a mother to Mitsuko. Ikuko is left alone, calling for her mother, who can never return. Hideo Nakata would recycle a lot of these plot points in The Ring 2 in 2005. A ghostly Samara is following Rachel and her son. Samara is threatening to take her son away. Samara wants to replace him in the real world and have Rachel as her mother. Nakata goes for a happy ending here in The Ring 2, with Rachel rejecting Samara and saving her son. Overall, this choice of ending further diminishes what is already a very lackluster film. Not so with Dark Water. Years later, a now teenaged Ikuko finds herself in front of her old apartment building. In her old apartment, she is reunited with her mother, who looks just as Ikuko remembers her. Happily, Ikuko tells her mother how she is doing and hopes they can now be together. Yoshimi sadly tells her daughter that it cannot be. Unknown to Ikuko, someone else is there. Yoshimi wishes her daughter well, but they can never meet again. When Ikuko leaves, she notices that the building has changed into a ruin. Sadly, she walks away. Dark Water is an amazing film. It is a very effective, slow-burn horror movie with some twists and turns as the mystery reveals itself. There is sadness here, with layers of abandonment and loneliness. The ending is haunting, full of sacrifice and sorrow and love. A worthy American remake came out in 2005, but it doesn't top the original. Check out Dark Water if you get the chance. Hitomi Kuroki plays the mother, Yoshimi. Ryo Kanno plays Ikuko as a child, with Asami Mizakawa coming in as the heartbreaking teenage version. Mire Oguchi plays Mitsuko Kawai, the tragic spirit. Number 2, Noroi. It is said that knowledge is power. It is also said that ignorance is bliss. Should you look under the bed? Should you check in the closet? It is also said that curiosity killed the cat, followed by satisfaction brought it back. Presented with the mysteries in Noroi, would you scratch that itch? Noroi came out in 2005. It was directed and co-written by Koji Shiraishi. It is an amazing, realistic, fake documentary. The premise is that a paranormal researcher who has published numerous books and produced several documentaries, all on supernatural activity around Japan, has gone missing. This unfinished documentary is the last project he was working on. Presented as something different from found footage, for the footage we see is professionally shot, edited, and polished as befitting the work of a true documentarian, there is an authenticity to this movie that is remarkable. The paranormal researcher, Masafumi Kobayashi, looks into reports by a family that strange sounds come from their neighbor's house. Upon visiting the neighbor, he meets the occupant of the house, Junko Ishii. Ishii is extremely hostile and orders Kobayashi to leave her alone. Later, while reviewing footage, Kobayashi confirms that Ishii is living with a young boy. Is it her son? The neighbors who reported the strange sounds later die in a mysterious accident. Around the same time, a young girl, Kana Yano, disappears. Kana had participated in a television program and demonstrated amazing psychic abilities. Kobayashi investigates and learns from Kana's parents that a strange man visited them before Kana's disappearance. This man is an eccentric psychic named Mitsuo Hori. Hori's strange mumblings and vague directions lead Kobayashi to an apartment and a man named Osawa. Osawa has a fascination with pigeons, and later goes missing as well. Meanwhile, actress Marika Matsumoto finds herself unconsciously making knots and loops while she is asleep. Kobayashi checks and learns that she is also sleepwalking. While she is sleepwalking, the video footage records Marika saying one word over and over. Kagutaba. Kobayashi begins researching the meaning of this word. He learns of a remote village, now destroyed, and a ritual practiced there to control a demon named Kagutaba. Now all the pieces are on the board. How are all of these people and events connected? What happened to the little girl, Kanna? Who is Junko Ishii, and how about her son? Why is Marika experiencing these strange events? What is Kagutaba? This movie is extremely convincing as a documentary. The cinematography, the editing, the use of visuals and graphics, the sound, everything lends an air of authenticity to this work. The cast all bring amazing performances, some with gravitas, others with curiosity, and a few with insanity. Adding to the realism are the appearances of actual Japanese celebrities as themselves in the fake TV segments. The actress Marika Matsumoto, in particular, actually plays a fictionalized version of herself. The major players are Jin Muraki as Masafumi Kobayashi, Marika Matsumoto as herself, Satoru Jitsunashi as Mitsuo Hori, Ryo Kanno as Kanayano, Tomono Kuga as Junko Ishii. She is very, very freaky. If you want a horror movie laden with mystery, a real slow burn that reveals its hand little by little as the pieces fall into place, an experience that will creep you out as it unfolds and bring you back for a second watch, check out Noroi. As of the making of this video, it can be found on YouTube with English subtitles. Check it out. It might still be there. You might get lucky. Number 1. Ju-on, The Grudge. Of all the horror movies I have seen, there is one that sticks out as the best, to me anyway. Ju-on, The Grudge, released in 2002. You may disagree, but I think I can make a pretty good case. But before I go on to Ju-on, The Grudge, let's backtrack a bit and look at the circumstances that led to the creation of this film. Takashi Shimizu is a Japanese filmmaker. His first directing work consisted of 2 parts of Gakko no Kaidan G, which can be translated as School Ghost Story G, which was made for television in 1998. Gakko no Kaidan G is an anthology of short horror stories, all taking place within a school. The 2 segments Shimizu contributed were Katasumi, in which 2 girls are endangered by a bloody woman, and she, 10 fours, with a spooky boy who sounds like a cat. I will give basic summaries and avoid spoilers. Gakko no Kaidan G, 10 fours. As a boy rides his bicycle home, he finds an abandoned cell phone ringing. The caller's number shows 10 fours. In Japan, 4, she, stands for death. She. Katasumi? The 2 schoolgirls are feeding the school's pet rabbits when something horrible happens. Now, I said that Gakko no Kaidan G was an anthology film of short stories, all based in a school, and that format is very important here. A short story follows this general format: exposition, rising action, climax, falling action, resolution. In Gakko no Kaidan G, the pattern is more like this. There is little falling action and no real resolution. We have exposition, rising action, climax, whoop, and then the story ends and the film moves on to the next segment. In the end, when you watch Gakko no Kaidan G, you get a film that looks like this. Boom, 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 boom. It's like a roller coaster with lots of peaks, and it can feel like it's always going up. It's always escalating. There's no real moment when you can just breathe and release the tension. Shimizu's work in Gakko no Kaidan G was very well received, so the studio offered him the chance to make something for Japan's V-cinema market. This means films that go direct to home video. Shimizu decided to go with what worked the first time: an anthology of short horror stories. This led to Ju-on, The Curse, released on February 11th, 2000, and Ju-on, The Curse 2, released on March 25th of 2000, the same year. The word Ju-on is made up of two Japanese characters. The first character, Noroi, can be translated as curse, while the second character, Yuan, can be translated as grudge. So we have curse and grudge. And when you put them together, you can read it as Ju-on. Drawing inspiration from the rise in domestic abuse cases coming out in Japan at that time, Shimizu decided to set the basic story in a house where such abuse occurred. Expanding on the characters of the bloodied woman in Katasumi and the ghostly boy who meows like a cat in 10 Fours, Shimizu developed the bones of his plot. Ju-on the Cursed. Segment 1. Toshio. A teacher visits the home of a truant student. His pregnant wife waits at home. He finds the boy, injured and alone. He realizes he knew the boy's mother long ago. Segment 2. Yuki. A tutor is teaching a high school girl who remembers she has to feed the rabbits. The girl's brother is the boy from 10 Fours. The tutor hears cats. Segment 3. Mizuho. A girl is waiting for her boyfriend. She finds his bicycle and backpack. There is a cell phone showing 10 Fours nearby. We have already met her boyfriend. Segment 4. Kanna. The tutored high school girl returns home after feeding the rabbits, to her mother's horror. The fifth segment, Kayako. The teacher is still waiting with the injured boy. The teacher calls his wife, but a strange man answers. The final segment, Kyoko. A woman helps her brother, a real estate agent. His firm has a house to sell, but there have been murders and disappearances related to that house. The woman has psychic sensitivity, so he wants her to check things out. Now, moving on to Ju-on the Curse 2. The first two segments of this movie recap the events of the previous film, and we are reminded of what happened and gain a little more detail about those events. Kyoko checks out the house and is greatly disturbed. She visits her brother's son, her nephew, now living in the teacher's old apartment. They both witness events that took place in that apartment before. Kyoko and the nephew go to the countryside to recover from the trauma. A new couple, now living in the now cursed house, starts having problems. When Kyoko's brother visits the house, something happens to him. Two police officers investigating incidents in the house touch base with an older officer who dealt with the original strange events that took place long ago. Bad idea. Years later, the nephew, seemingly recovered, is being pursued at school. In a nutshell, something happened to the woman and boy in a house, creating a curse in that place. Anyone who enters that house is infected and can spread the curse to anyone they meet anywhere they go. It is not a ghost that gets you. The curse can manifest in various forms, including looking like people you know who are not dead. It is the curse in that house that gets hold of you, and once infected, you will die in the end. Subsequent films in the series by other writers and directors make Kayako out to be a vengeful spirit and the main baddie of the franchise. They give Kayako agency and purpose, when that is not supposed to be the case at all. There are more spoilers here, so prepare yourself as I explain a second curse hidden within the main storyline. It all started with this man, Takeo Saeki. In a fit of rage, he committed unspeakable acts. Unknown to him, he planted the seeds for a curse that would go on to claim the lives of so many people. But most people don't realize that he actually caused the birth of two curses. I will explain. We first learn of Takeo Saeki and his family in Ju-on the Curse and Ju-on the Curse 2, as I mentioned. Takeo lived in a house with his wife Kayako, his son Toshio, and their cat Maru. The family's home life was damaged by Takeo's growing feelings of jealousy and suspicions that Toshio was not his actual son. It turned out that Takeo's feelings were not unfounded, but that reality does not justify what he did. A teacher named Shunsuke Kobayashi lives with his pregnant wife, Manami. One of his students is a boy named Toshio Saeki. Shunsuke met Toshio's mother, Kayako, in university. This is where he also met Manami, never knowing that Kayako was deeply in love with him. Having vague memories of Kayako, Shunsuke asks his wife if she remembers Kayako. Manami does, vaguely, and recalls thinking that there was something strange about Kayako. Upon noticing that Toshio has been absent for a long time, Shunsuke makes a trip to the Saeki family house. He finds it in disarray and discovers an injured Toshio. After cleaning up Toshio's wounds, Shunsuke calls his wife to tell her that he will wait for a parent to come back. He cannot leave Toshio alone. While waiting, Shunsuke comes across a journal of sorts. He reads Kayako's fantasies, including of him being Toshio's real father. Takeo had found the journal as well, and had already suspected something was wrong with his relationship to Kayako. In a fit of rage, he killed Toshio and the cat. Later, he murdered Kayako, breaking her neck and leaving her to slowly die, able only to croak a death rattle. The Saeki family home has now become a cursed location. Anyone who enters it is doomed. The curse might manifest as Kayako, Toshio, the cat, a combination of them, anyone else the curse has affected, or anyone the victim knows. They are not ghosts, but manifestations of the curse. Having come into contact with the house, Shunsuke is now cursed. He will soon meet his end. But before that, he gets a phone call from Takeo. After reading Kayako's journal and disposing of his family, Takeo went to Shunsuke's apartment and murdered Manami. He then removed the unborn child from Manami's body as a replacement for the child he thinks Shunsuke stole. Shortly after, Takeo succumbs to the effects of the curse he created. Years later, the Saeki house has come into possession of a real estate agent, Tatsuya Suzuki. Knowing of the house's dark history, he asks his sister Kyoko, who is psychically sensitive, to visit the house with him. Troubled by what she feels, Kyoko recommends some tests that Tatsuya should perform on potential new owners before selling the house. She then visits the apartment where Tatsuya's family now lives to visit her nephew Nobuyuki. While there, Kyoko, and possibly Nobuyuki as well, have visions of Takeo murdering Manami. This is the apartment where Shunsuke and Manami used to live. This location is also stained by rage and death. Kyoko later goes insane, seemingly under the influence of the curse from the apartment. Tatsuya goes missing and presumably meets his fate. Nobuyuki witnesses the deaths of Kyoko and his grandparents, and much later, Nobuyuki too is taken by the curse. Takeo Saeki, through his rage and violence against his family, brought about the Ju-on that took root in his family's house. This curse claimed the majority of people we see die in various entries of the film series. Takeo also, through his act of misguided vengeance against Shunsuke, created a second Ju-on. The rage he felt and the death he caused made a different curse in Shunsuke and Manami's apartment. The effects of this curse, while as deadly, appear different from those of the curse in the Saeki house. It is this curse that most likely contributed to Kyoko's death and later partially claimed Nobuyuki. The events of Ju-on the Curse revealed the birth of the main curse of the series, the one in the Saeki house. We are introduced to manifestations of Kayako, Toshio, and the cat. They are the most prominent manifestations of the curse throughout the film series. In Ju-on the Curse 2, we learn of the second cursed location, in Shunsuke and Manami's apartment. We can assume that Tatsuya was also infected by that curse, along with Nobuyuki, since they both lived there. This means that Tatsuya and Kyoko had direct exposure to each cursed location, a double curse. Having more than one cursed location lends proof to the concept that extreme rage plus death equals curse. Imagine how many such places might exist. How easy to unwittingly visit one of those places, become infected, and experience strange events around you as your end drew ever closer. The inevitability of it, terrifying. Shot on a minimal budget over 9 days, the films became very popular due to positive word of mouth. Because of the limited funds available, Shimizu had to be very creative with his shooting, generating a creepy mood in a very simple style. The success of these outings got him the green light to make a sequel of sorts for theatrical release. So now we arrive at what I consider to be the scariest film, Ju-on the Grudge. Released on October 18th, 2002, Ju-on the Grudge rehashes events from the first two films as it continues the story. More people enter the house, more people get infected, more people die. Here is a summary. I'll try to avoid spoilers. So, Ju-on the Grudge, Segment 1, Rika. A volunteer social worker checks on the elderly mother of a client, but someone else is there. Segment 2, Katsuya. Kazumi, Katsuya's wife, cannot sleep. Katsuya's elderly mother seems to be making noise at night. While Katsuya is at work, Kazumi finds a cat and a boy. Later, Katsuya comes home. Segment 3, Hitomi. Hitomi, Katsuya's sister, feels uneasy at work. She goes home and locks the door. Is someone else in her apartment? The next segment, Segment 4, Toyama. Two police investigators go to a retired officer who had investigated strange events in the same house years before. The retired officer then returns to the house. Segment 5, Izumi. Years later, the retired officer's now teenage daughter, Izumi, enters the house on a dare. Bad idea. And the final segment, Kayako. Rika, from the first segment, now largely recovered, has lunch with a friend who works as a tutor. As Rika learns more about all of the events, she goes back to the house and uncovers the truth. As with the previous two films, Ju-on the Grudge is non-linear. It tells 5 short stories, bookending with the character named Rika. What makes it, in my opinion, the scariest film? The density! Remember the pattern I talked about with exposition, rising action, climax, falling action, resolution. Well, we have the pattern from Gakkou no Kaiden G. Exposition, rising action, climax, exposition, rising action, climax, exposition, rising action, climax. We have it 6 times here. No falling action, no resolution. Each segment is a complete story. The characters are introduced and we watch what unfolds. The connections between the stories, while not obvious at first, become clear. There is no filler. Every moment builds towards horror. It is just scare, 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 scare. It is almost unfair. If you haven't seen Ju-on the Grudge, I highly recommend that you do. If you can see Katasumi and 10 Fours before that, and if you have a chance to see Ju-on the Curse and Ju-on the Curse 2 beforehand, please do. They've been on YouTube at various times, so you might get lucky and find them there, as I mentioned. But Ju-on the Grudge stands very well on its own. There are sequels and follow-ups, and the American remake, and its sequels, but those are not must-see, in my opinion. The only one that is a must, and stands as the scariest film, in my opinion, is Ju-on the Grudge. Those are my 3 favorite J-horror films. If you have seen them, I would love to hear what you thought. If you have any other favorites, let me know. I'm always ready for more horror to watch. Please leave your responses in the comments section. And if you could take a second and feel inclined, please consider subscribing to my channel for more videos about entertainment of all kinds, and also consider leaving a like if this video proved useful or entertaining to you at all. Thanks for watching. See you next time.